passenger. I'm Christopher. I'm an expat living in Mexico. I've traveled the world extensively. Along with others, we plan to bring you our insights into travel and traveling. We will focus on food, drink, film, and especially opinion. It'll be 100% politically incorrect, and we'll have no problem expressing it to you. Check out our website at coffeepuss.com for photos, film, reviews, podcast, blog, and links. So, please be our passenger. Roll down your window and come along for the ride.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the Passenger Podcast. I am Christopher. Today, we're going to take a driving trip up from LA to the Yosemite National Park. And I think you'll find it enjoyable. It's a beautiful place, a little crowded, but very beautiful. All right, everybody. Yosemite is about 2 hours from Fresno, California. If you don't know where that is, probably 3 hours from LA. Between San Francisco and LA, through the back route of it, it's not along the highways, the coastways. Yosemite is a very beautiful place, although it gets really crowded during peak seasons. There is a lot to do and see up there if you like camping, hiking, fishing, even mountain biking. It's a great place to go. So we're going to get into that a little bit. As you come up into Yosemite, you have to remember you need to pay to go there, and it's expensive. And you pay just an entry fee, so if you leave and come back, you're usually going to have to pay again. Then you have to pay for your camping when you get there. When you should come fully loaded. The only reason is everything down there is expensive. But they do give you stuff with your entry fee, like buses. And they're very important buses because traffic's really bad down there in the valley. And so if you can park your car at your campsite or your motel you're staying at, it's better to just hop on the buses and get off and on where you want to go when you're in the valley. Now, we came up through the Tioga Road, which is the backside towards Mammoth. We just took that way because there's a lot more to see and do, and we hit Mammoth on the way and a couple other spots. But you can come in through the freeway from LA and come up through Fresno too. And the Tioga Pass is only open in the summer. Where can you stay when you're there? Well, like I said, they have camping. I've been there twice. One time we stayed in Yosemite Village. I'll tell you about that. One time we rented a cabin. The cabins are outside of the valley, so you would commute every day into the valley. Yosemite Village is right down in the middle of Yosemite. And we rented what they call as a cabin there, but they're not. It's a wooden floor with tent, like canvas tent material on it. So you're in a tent, but they're really nice. I really liked them. In fact, I'd like to do that again. They have comfortable beds in there. In the summer, it doesn't get that cold. It's in the Yosemite Village. Now, the Yosemite Village, they have stores and little markets and shops and stuff down there. Plus, they have a community swimming pool. Tents, they're little cabins that we stayed in, didn't have bathrooms, but they have ones that do. Shower situation and the bathroom situation there is not good. Even in the campsites, if you're pitching a tent or something, they're not good. If you're pulling a trailer or have a truck camper, it's a much better situation. The only reason is there's no privacy in these showers. There's a big line at the bathrooms. In the mornings for the shower, same thing. Awful crowded there at Yosemite Village sometimes. All of Yosemite Valley is crowded, and especially during the peak seasons of, say, June through September until the kids go back to school. I would recommend you didn't go during those times because it's just too damn crowded. Sometimes you can't even get out on a bus. The bus will just drive right past you because it's full. Other things too, there they have a lot of things to do, like hiking, biking, climbing. If you like to climb, the pros go there to climb. Climbing's so good. Like I said, with the bus system there, driving around is not a problem. So you can get on the bus, go to different parts like the waterfalls and stuff, and the bus will stop there. You get off, you go walk over to the waterfalls or the hiking paths or anything you want, and then you can return 2 hours later or 30 minutes later, and then you just sit and wait for the next bus to come back, and it'll pick you up, but it stops at every destination back to where you want to go. They have a lot to do there. A lot of shops and stuff to do there. I like personally the Ansel Adams Gallery. If you don't know who he was a naturist, a photographer, superb black and white photographer. Amazing stuff that he did. You can go to his museum that he has there. You can buy a lot of his stuff. It's expensive. He was a true artist. You would love some of the photography he took there at Yosemite. Now, this was a long time ago, into the 60s, I think he was shooting photography there. But it's some amazing stuff. If you're like a photographer like I am, you'll enjoy that gallery. Also, they have hotels and motels. Most of those are not in the valley. The one that is the Ahwahnee Hotel, which is beautiful hotel. It's an old rustic hotel with log cabin kind of thing, and beautiful in there. It's even got a small swimming pool now. They have a good restaurant in there. A lot of tourists walking in and out just taking photos, but it's a nice place to stay, but it is very expensive and it's hard to get a reservation. There's also things to do like horseback riding. Horseback riding's great. And they have mule trains too. If you don't want to hike up these mountains, and some of these mountains the paths that they're on are straight up. So if you can't do that, but you still want to go up there, you can take these mule trains or horseback riding trains and go up there, see them. But they're expensive too, and they sell out. You have to make a reservation at least a day in advance, 2 days if not. But they're really neat. It's expensive, but I liked it. It was great. Just kicking back and going up the trail and just looking around how beautiful it was. Well, if you're into climbing, they have El Capitan. That's a straight up cliff. That and Half Dome. Half Dome is they call it Half Dome because it looks like half of a dome. And those are famous climbing rocks. You can go there. The bus stops there, so you can get out and look and take photos. They also have Tulum Falls. That's beautiful. We went there. It's just some beautiful waterfalls that you can walk to. You can actually see the falls from a ways away, and you're able to take a path to get closer up. They have Yosemite Falls there, and that's nice. Averno Falls. Those are nice. We went there. There's a lot of museums over there, I'd say 3 or 4, that tell you the history of Yosemite. They have a lake called Tenaya Lake. Brideville Falls, that was nice. I mean, these are all just things that are really neat to see, and if you haven't seen them in nature, it gives you a sense of how small you really are when you go and just stand next to these places and look at these places and see how life was before everything was paved. On the south entrance, when you come in, there's a place called Mariposa Grove, and in there they have giant sequoias. And these sequoias are huge, and that's really neat seeing that. It's where these trees that are, as big as semis from hundreds of years ago, and the forest isn't that big, but it's amazing how big these sequoias have gotten. Also, what I found really neat when we went there is back in the 1800s, they had Yosemite was famous for logging and gold mining. And the way they would get the logs back to the cities was they created these water shafts that they elevated up into the air through these wooden, like almost half tunnels. And they'd fill the tunnels with water, and they'd put the log in the tunnels that went all the way down the hill. And by car, it's 2 hours up. They would cut the tree down, shave the branches off, and they'd just have the log. They'd put the log into these water tunnels that went from Yosemite all the way down to the mountain to the river below. And then they would get into the river and they'd simply float it into the cities, into the main city, usually Fresno, I think. Also, they perfected it so much that they could also move people and supplies. So they'd hollow out a log. They could put supplies, like anything in there. A lot of times it was gold. They would put that in there and then float that down to the river, and a boat would pick them up when they got to the river. They would put people. Eventually, when they really perfected, they put people in there, and they could move people down the mountain fast through that log system. I found that amazing when I heard the story, and they have books on it there. And that also had a negative side because that's where the company stores came in to play in Yosemite, where the mining companies and the logging companies would hire you on. And then when they hired you on, they'd charge you for food, charge you for rent. They'd give you credit to go to have a bar tab. With everybody they hired, that bill got out of hand and you couldn't pay it back. Then when you couldn't pay it back, you were pretty much a slave. They wouldn't let you leave because you'd have to pay your bill before you left. And you couldn't pay your bill because you didn't make enough money to pay it. So it's a very interesting story about the gold companies and the logging companies back in the 1800s. But they were very smart and they were very ruthless. They do have hotels and motels up there. The hotels and motels are outside of the valley. So if you want to stay at one, it's hard getting a reservation for those too. They have really nice ones outside the valley. And remember, everything is in the valley. You pretty much have to drive in, park, or take the bus in and park, go see what you want to see, and then pack up and go back to your motel or hotel. The campgrounds are in the valley, but those reservations are hard to get. You have to remember with reservations, especially within Yosemite, is they go on sale a year in advance. So if you want a reservation for this day, next year, you call up and make your reservation, and you can probably get it. But if you wait a month or 2 months, there's not going to be anything because they'll be sold out, 10 months in advance. So you have to remember that you should make your reservation a year in advance. We did for the tents. And if for the hotel, it was like 6 months in advance. Camping is impossible unless you make your reservation 10 months in advance. So remember that. They do have tours. They do have, guided tours, and they're well worth it because they explain everything to you. They give you the historical background of everything you're looking at. They're very knowledgeable, and they're rangers. Remember about the entry fee when you go into Yosemite. Okay, don't forget that because that adds up. I'll tell you about something that I found just strikingly weird. People get strange when they go there. There was a deer with its baby eating grass in a meadow in Yosemite Valley, just off one of the main roads. And me and my wife were sitting down at a bench, quarter mile away, and we could see the deer. Then all of a sudden, 10 people come up with their cameras and kids and start taking a photo. And then after 5 more minutes, there's 20 there. After 15 minutes, there's 40 people there. And then after about, 20 minutes, 20 more minutes, there had to be 75 people there. And it just looks so stupid because, the deers, I don't know, they're used to it because they didn't go anywhere. They weren't worried, didn't bolt. But these people, just it's like they never seen a deer before. Deer was just eating grass, and they're all oohing on and go, maybe you've never been to a zoo and seen a deer. And that's how many people are there, and that's how crazy it gets. They have lots of limitations on what you can and can't do as far as campfires and what you can bring in. A lot of people come in there, get stupid, get drunk in the campgrounds, and they'll just evict you from the campground. When you go there, bring all your own food, all your own alcohol. Bring it all in at once is what I'm saying, because if you don't, the markets there are really expensive. If you want a supermarket, you're going to have to go out of the valley to get one. They do have them up there out of the valley. You need permits for everything. If you want to go off-grid or anything like that, you need a permit. When we were there in our tents one night, a guy comes running through the campground telling everyone, get back in your tents, get back in your tent. They call them cabins with their tents. And we asked him why. He said, there's a bear on the loose. And the bears come down. The one bear we did see was a black bear. It didn't look that big. But don't feed them. Don't leave stuff outside. And you won't have a problem. And we didn't have a problem anyways. I think there's so many tourists there that the bears are used to them. Coming in and out of Yosemite, you, like I said, come through Fresno, which is not very panoramic. There's not much of a view to see on the way coming up. You hit a couple cities in the mountains on the way up. Coming the other way is a lot nicer through the road up through Mammoth and stuff. But like I said, that's only open in the summer. Or you can come up through Fresno and out through the road by Mammoth. That road keeps going up too. But Yosemite, you'd really like it. You like the waterfalls. You'll like the stops. It's a very beautiful place. Like I said, if you're going to go there, try and get there off season. Like after the kids go back to school or before vacation start, because a lot of the people up there were either snowbirds or families on vacation. And I can see why they want to take their children up there, but it just gets really, really, really crowded. That's it about Yosemite. Would I recommend it? Yes. And it's a beautiful place to see. There's a lot more up there like Kings Canyon and the sequoias to see. So you could see everything going through Yosemite in 3-4 days. Make that a stop and proceed to some of the other ones. Go into Frisco and go to the Redwoods north of Frisco. There's a lot to see and do just in that. So you could have a 2-week vacation and hit them all. We've been to the other places. We'll talk about that in another podcast. So I hope this short podcast helped you out a little. So we'll leave it there. And thank you for listening. I'll see you in 2 weeks.